Kinematics is the branch of mechanics that maps the geometry of motion, stripping away the physical forces that push or pull an object. We are isolating movement itself to understand its mathematical rules. To measure movement, we first have to recognize that objective rest is an illusion. An object sitting perfectly still on Earth is simultaneously hurtling through the solar system at thousands of miles an hour. Because of this, every calculation requires a defined frame of reference. A frame of reference is a chosen zero point and coordinate system from which all positions and velocities in a given problem are mathematically anchored. This diagram shows what happens when we change that anchor. Placed on the ground, a passing car has high velocity. Shift that 0 point to the car itself, and its velocity drops to 0, while the ground moves backward. The math of reality is entirely dictated by where the observer stands. Before a single equation can be solved, the reference point must be locked into place. Once the reference frame is set, we measure motion using two distinct classes of data: scalars and vectors. A scalar has only a magnitude, like mass. A vector requires both a magnitude and a specific spatial direction to exist. Distance is a scalar measurement. It acts like an odometer, tallying the total length of the physical path traversed. Because it only accumulates magnitude regardless of direction, distance can never be a negative number. Displacement is a vector measurement. It ignores the meandering route of the actual journey entirely and calculates only the absolute shortest geometric line from the starting origin to the final destination. This diagram shows a closed-loop scenario on a circular track to physically prove how these two metrics diverge. As an object moves, the scalar distance accumulates, capturing the physical journey. The vector displacement completely bypasses that curve, bridging the start and end points directly across the interior space. If the object completes the loop, returning to its exact starting coordinate, total distance traveled is the full circumference. Displacement, however, drops to mathematically 0 because start and end points are identical. An object can travel hundreds of miles and have exactly 0 displacement. Because velocity is calculated using displacement rather than distance, understanding vector geometry is a strict requirement for mapping motion. This reliance on precise definitions exposes the algebraic flaws of using basic averages in physics. Consider a car traveling outward from a city at 60 miles per hour and returning along the identical route at 90 miles per hour. The immediate instinct is to find the average speed by adding 60 and 90, then dividing by 2 to arrive at 75. That calculation guarantees a mathematical error. It incorrectly assumes the car spent an equal amount of time traveling at both speeds. Because the return trip at 90 miles per hour was faster, it took less time, weighting the overall average heavily towards the slower outbound speed. This diagram shows the accurate calculation. Average speed requires dividing the total distance by the total time. By setting the one-way distance as a variable x, the total distance is 2x. We derive the total time by dividing x by each specific velocity. The resulting harmonic mean yields an exact average speed of 72 miles per hour. Basic arithmetic averages break down when variables like speed and time fluctuate independently. To track non-uniform motion accurately, modern physicists rely on mathematics that can cut time into infinitesimally small slices. By freezing motion at a highly specific, singular slice of time, we shift from measuring average rates to instantaneous rates. This diagram shows the mechanical hierarchy between these states. Instantaneous velocity is the derivative of position with respect to time. A derivative is a calculus operation that identifies the exact frozen rate at which a variable changes. Following that logic downward, acceleration is simply the derivative of velocity. Evaluating how velocity changes with respect to time yields the exact acceleration at that very same frozen instant. The calculus engine operates symmetrically in reverse. An integral is the inverse operation of a derivative, allowing us to accumulate those microscopic rates of change back into a whole. By integrating an object's acceleration over time, we step backward to its velocity. Integrating velocity steps backward to reveal its exact position. In scenarios where time is unknown, a mathematical substitution allows us to bypass it entirely. Acceleration can be calculated directly by multiplying the velocity by the derivative of velocity with respect to the physical displacement. Position, velocity, and acceleration function as a single mathematical unit, linked continuously through the mechanics of calculus. We can apply these integral operations to derive a universal mathematical template for any object undergoing a constant rate of acceleration. This diagram shows the initial setup linking acceleration, velocity, and time. Because acceleration is a constant, we extract it outside the integral. We are left to integrate the infinitesimal changes in velocity against the changes in time. To frame the calculation, we apply boundary limits. For time, we integrate from the moment the clock starts at 0 to a specific later point designated as t. On the opposite side, velocity is integrated from its initial starting speed, u, to its final ending speed, v. Resolving the integral produces the exact final velocity. It equals the initial velocity plus the acceleration multiplied by the time spent accelerating. This forms the first equation of motion. We apply the same methodology to track the total physical displacement of the object. This diagram shows the displacement setup. We set the integral of positional change equal to the integral of the entire velocity equation we just solved. We establish the boundaries, integrating the physical distance from 0 up to the final displacement s against the time limits of 0 to t. The calculation yields the total displacement. It equals the initial velocity multiplied by time, added to 1/2 the acceleration multiplied by time squared. This provides the second equation of motion. These equations emerge as the logical output of the integration process, describing the necessary relationship between displacement and time under a steady rate of acceleration. Because these derived equations are universal, they perfectly map the vertical trajectory of any object in free fall under Earth's gravity. This diagram shows the rigid sign convention required to map gravity. Upward movement operates in positive coordinates, while downward movement registers as negative. Gravity strictly pulls downward, meaning its acceleration is always a constant negative 9.8 meters per second squared. When an object is launched vertically, its initial positive velocity vector fights directly against that constant negative acceleration. The math of gravity continuously strips away the upward speed. At the exact physical apex of the trajectory, the final velocity resolves to precisely 0 for a frozen instant. As the object falls back down the axis, the velocity vector flips into the negative and accumulates magnitude under the continuous downward force. Running these equations reveals a structural symmetry built into the physics. The exact time required to fight gravity and reach the apex is mathematically identical to the time taken to fall back down to the starting coordinate. A single, unchanging downward force generates a perfectly symmetrical, predictable loop of motion. The final analytical tool these equations offer is the ability to act as a scalpel. They allow us to calculate the precise distance traveled within one singular specific second. Finding the distance traveled during the 5th second is not the same as calculating a total 5-second journey. It isolates only the interval strictly between second 4 and second 5. This diagram shows the logic for isolating that window. First, we use the second equation of motion to calculate the total distance traveled at the absolute end of the full 5-second time frame. Next, we execute the equation a second time to determine the total distance accumulated just prior to that specific second, exactly at the 4-second mark. By mathematically subtracting the 4-second displacement from the 5-second displacement, the extraneous data is stripped out. We are left exclusively with the specific physical distance traveled during that 5th second. This provides a generalized algebraic formula. The distance covered in any target second is simply the total distance at that exact second, minus the distance accumulated at the preceding second. By setting strict reference frames and trusting the calculus engine, physicists can dissect reality. They bypass the chaos of the physical world to predict motion down to the millimeter and the millisecond.